I'm Megan Cold, and welcome to another episode of Your Place Inside and Out. We're excited to have you today as we'll be discussing various things that you can do to improve the inside and outside of your place. Our hope is that you can find some new inspiration for your home and also show you some of the incredible home improvement professionals that we have right here in our town who are ready to make the most out of your place. To start, we have home interior professional Brooke McReynolds, who's had a passion for interior design from a young age and also has a great mission statement about decorating a home and keeping up with current trends.
My mission statement for my company is, providing unique but timeless interiors for clients with specific needs and wants to that particular client. And I think keeping up with timeless looks, that things will last people. You don't want to buy something that in a year is going to be out of style. You want to provide them with things that will last them and things they don't have to replace, because by providing them with unique but timeless spaces for their home is really important when it comes to keeping up with trends. When I initially meet with a client, I have them fill out a questionnaire as to colors they like, colors they don't like, styles they like. Do they like curved arms? Do they like straight, simple, clean? Obviously the modern contemporary is one of the questions, but then it goes into, well, what do people consider modern or contemporary? I think that people have a hard time defining their own style, so I try to get more specific as to, are you a neutral or a gray? People have really started to kind of transition into this gray is the new neutral. I'll even have them set up a house account or a Pinterest account, and I'll go in and really research what they've pinned or what they've put on their house or what they like, and really get to know their styles. It's somewhat hard when I do have a client that well, I like this barnwood door, but I also like this sequined kind of pillow, but it's hard because that's rustic and then really chic, so I think that is kind of a challenge. But as a designer, I make it all work together, and then it becomes eclectic because it's different styles put together. Gray is becoming the new neutral. People are really transitioning into, not necessarily gray, but there's neutral grays. I mean, there's gray grays, there's neutral grays, there's blue grays. Transitioning more into that gray family, I think that's become a very, very big trend that will stay for a long time. It's very hard to say how long trends kind of stick around, but I think that even the older clients really have tried to transition into, just because it is a younger, timeless look as opposed to this traditional kind of style that they're stuck in. Painted cabinets will be a timeless trend. No one's really going with the stained cabinets anymore. It's painted because you can pick whatever color you want. The really simple shaker style cabinet doors, because you can go either way with that. You can take a cabinet like that and make it traditional, or you can take it and make it contemporary, depending on hardware and granite and all the detail that you put into a kitchen or a bathroom. So I think that it's hard to define how long things will stay in, but I go in with a very neutral color palette and add the pops of color in accessories and smaller pieces of furniture. So these sofas can last, but you can always trade pillows out. So the timeless kind of look is just really important. The mixing and matching of different textures. People are always saying, well, that's velvet, that's a smooth texture, and this is linen. How do they go together? People are really misconstrued about buying full sets of items for a room, and I think also mixing and matching things, it can, in a certain way, it can flow if you have the right mixing and matching. Like with the bar stools, it's the same bar stool, it's just a different color, but it still has a balanced look, but it's different. It's not just all matchy-matchy, and I think that that's the number one thing that people don't understand, is not everything has to match. Even when it comes to finishes, people are starting to really transition out of, well, my light has to match my faucet. That necessarily doesn't have to, if it looks good, mixing brushed nickel with a chrome, it doesn't have to always match. I've found that, some of the newer trends, people are starting to declutter and organize and come up with different solutions to organize and get rid of everything that they don't need or don't use, and kind of cleaning everything off to make it look very simple instead of all cluttered in kitchens and bedrooms and things like that. Even when it comes to a bed and how your bed's made, people pile pillows on their bed, but just having your 3 Euros and 2 standard and just a couple decorative it just gives it a much more clean, sophisticated look as opposed to cluttered. People are wanting to de-stress their life by decluttering and reorganizing and kind of making their homes look more put together. If you just start to take things away, and you'll start to see the actual foundation of the home, that's what's important. Your countertops, they don't have to be filled. That's an architectural detail that you've paid a lot of money for and you've picked out, and it's amazing the characteristics that a piece of granite can have, and if you don't cover it, then people start to see that. The first thing I start out with is, even putting an area rug down, not setting your furniture right on top of the wood floor, that can make a huge difference. That can make it more homier and more inviting because it's more comfortable. You want to rub your feet on the soft rug. And then also just having a really just balanced look. You'll start to see a consistent flow in a room, and so putting less in a room can be more of an attraction and more homier for someone to come in because it is cozier, because you're not, looking around and seeing all these things around, but you're still making it look like a full, complete palette in a room. Transitioning from stained cabinets to painted cabinets, darker wood flooring instead of that really light look is definitely timeless. All of those are good for even resale, and then also just like a very unique but sophisticated look to a home. It's not modern, contemporary, but it's not traditional. It's kind of a mixture of everything, and I think that style and that trend will stay around. That is a timeless trend. Obviously, candle holders. Candle holders can, accessorize a room really nicely, and then also, trays for coffee tables, ottomans, just a nice large tray that you can just put, coasters on, or candlestick holders. Also, really unique, nice mirrors, and then innovative, like abstract paintings. Bowls that you can fill with things, like large glass bowls that you can just put a very simple bowl with just either fake fruit or real fruit just to sit on top of the countertop. Starting out with, neutral, I always try to, the larger pieces, do a neutral color, and then coming up with, 2 colors that you really just want to use in a room. And this room in particular, I found this ottoman and I loved it, so I based the rest of the room around it. I knew that I wanted to do neutral sofas, but I think, finding the pieces you like, finding the furniture pieces you like. Fortunately, working with a designer, you've got more resources because the designer has got, vendors and things like that. But if you are doing it on your own, just finding the pieces, like finding that one piece, like for instance this, that you want to base the entire room off of, and then finding the fill-ins for the rest of the room. When I have a clean palette, I think there's one item in the room, whether it's a light fixture or an ottoman, taking that and using that as the foundation for the room and basing everything else on that, so it all kind of just comes together really nicely. So, taking this and making sure that it balances out on this side and this side. But with the larger pieces, it's important to kind of do neutral as opposed to colors, because you can always change out colors in a room by pillows or by accessories, but you at least are starting out with a clean neutral color palette. I think when people see it, they understand that it flows, but when they're standing in a store going, well, I don't know how that's going to look. I don't know. I think it's very hard for them to visualize it. So, as much as it's hard for clients to kind of trust me as a designer, they end up seeing it as a full, well, I would have never guessed that would go together, but it actually looks really nice. So I think it's hard for people to think outside the box when it comes to their living room and their home as all, but I think that once they see it, they actually know that it will look good. So I think that, once they have the advice, they'll take it, but it's getting that advice that I think for them personally, it's hard for them to make that decision. But I think when they hear it from a designer or, even reading it in a magazine, then they know that, okay, this is okay to mix and match or to, use pops of color certain places.